soon. All right, and we are live, guys. And we got everybody. This is, of course, you guys know Amin from Amin Watch Reviews. This is my buddy George from the Facebook group, so I'm sure you've probably seen him post toward Rosas. And we got Bruce, Blue Shirt Buddha. We got Junior Johnson. We got Orange Hand. Thanks for joining in, guys. What's everybody wearing tonight? What are you wearing tonight, George?
You know what? I have my here we go. The Tudor Black Bay red.
Nice.
Beauty.
But handy since it's a Myota topic. I have the handy here. I have the Smith Everest.
Smith. That's a great watch. I remember reviewing that one.
Yeah, and I should have. I wish I was on here when you had Ace, because that's what I bought it from was Ace.
Nice,
cool.
Great watch. What's you wearing, Amin?
I have a Zelos swordfish with a NH35 movement, swordfish teal.
Okay.
Nice.
Zealous is a great watch. Of course, in case everybody knows, I'll be doing the probably the unboxing tomorrow, Saturday. I just picked up my first Rolex 1500.
Awesome. Congrats.
Congrats,
yeah, thanks.
Man.
It's a 60s vintage model. It's an old one.
Wow.
So,
beautiful.
And we got Desmond and Nilo, Junior Johnson, and Joe on here. What's going on? But tonight's topic is, like I said, Myota, the Citizen Myota movement versus NH35 or NH36, depending on which do we like more? Do we prefer one or over the other? Or are you kind of neutral? I believe, Amin, you said you're kind of neutral. Personally, I feel like I would veer more towards the NH35. Personally, what about you, George?
You know, I probably have more experience with an NH35, not aside from the Seikos that I have that have it. And then, God, a few years ago, I got a Invicta Pro diver that I got for the specific purpose of modding. And that one, those come with the Seiko movement, and that one, that one's been a workhorse. Of course, the one that I just showed earlier, the Smiths, that one's been running like a champ too.
Okay.
Although I'm kind of indifferent. If I could choose, I'd probably just go with a Seiko just because I have more experience with it.
Okay.
Is the Smiths have a Myota?
That one has a Myota, yeah. And the only thing that I don't like about that one is that I forgot what the movement is in it, but that's a no date, and so when you pull it, it's a no date, but the date, the movement has a date, so like it's got that ghost position. Yeah. Which
Ghost, yeah.
I didn't have, but it is what it is. I'm okay with it, I guess. But that one has a Myota in it.
Yeah, Myota makes a 9 series movement without the ghost, as a no date, without the ghost position.
Yeah.
But I think they can save money sometimes by using the one with a date, and because a lot of companies do that. Maybe it's because they're making date and no date versions, or they can buy the date version in bulk. But a lot of them have those ghost positions.
And the newer Smiths, like I think the newer ones after that model, those have the Myota movement without the ghost position. But it doesn't bug me enough to regret it or want to switch it out or whatever. But yeah, I do wish. But you're right. So many like micro brands and stuff have like that ghost position. One, and it's worked for everybody. So
yeah, the Myota
design it's. Oh, go ahead. I'm in. Sorry.
The Myota 9 series is a lot more expensive than an NH35. You know, if we want to buy one, it's about a little under $40 to buy an NH35. It's about, I think it's about $100. I checked right before this stream to buy a Myota 9015. So that colors my thinking a little bit. You know, if the watch costs more and it's coming with a Myota, I think, you know, some of the cost is going to the Myota. I know the Myota is a thinner movement, but as far as whether I really care, I don't really care. If a watch otherwise, I like it a lot. Neither one of those movements is gonna persuade me not to buy the watch.
My one main gripe on the Myota movement is, of course, if you've ever experienced it, like it has that little bit of a rotor whine that you can hear. Like you can hear it, like when you move your wrist a little bit.
It's got a wobble. So like, you know, you'll move your wrist, you'll stop moving your wrist, and your watch will still keep, like, you know, wobbling.
It free spins in one direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that
a lot of companies,
me.
like don't bother you. There are a lot of companies like Smiths. I didn't really notice that in your Smiths. I don't know, like, if a lot of the micros that get it, and maybe the micro brands. That's what I was wondering about the price. I'm glad you brought that up, man. I was wondering on the price of, because I noticed a lot of micro brands actually choose the Myota over this movement, and I was wondering why that was.
If you want an 8 tick per second smooth sweep and in a very thin movement, and you don't want to pay for an ETA or a Sellita, I think the 9015 gives you all that. So they actually spend more on a 9 series Myota than on an NH35. I'm pretty sure, quite a bit more. But it's giving them a smoother sweep and a thinner movement, so they can make a thinner case than they would with an NH35.
And then, like I said, I do know some of the aftermarket companies. I call them aftermarket. I'm used to car talk, but the micro brand companies, some of them use, you know, they'll regulate it, like that Nearest. I don't know if you saw that Nearest review I just did the other day, guys. It had the Myota movement. I could not hear that or feel that at all. Like, I don't know if they just regulate that or what.
Yeah, maybe they, if anything, maybe they swap out the rotor. Or I don't know, but
they may do that.
It doesn't, like, wobble doesn't bother me. Like, for some reason I kind of think it's funny. Like, every once in a while you'll feel it, and it's just like, I know I haven't lost it because I could feel it.
But yeah, that was my main thing. Like, that's why I would pick the NH35 movement, NH36 in some cases with the date, no date, over the Myota movement, just because, like I said, the one thing is like the rotor whine. That's the only thing that really kind of, now if it came down to it, and if a watch, you know, was either this or that, it wouldn't stop me from buying a watch with Myota movement either, though, at the same time. What about you guys?
Yeah, I don't think it would stop me. I don't think either one would stop me from doing it. I mean, I didn't even realize there was such a price difference from $40 to, you know, $100.
I'm pretty sure that's what we would pay. I don't know if that's what, you know, Zelos pays. Zelos has used all of these movement types. They've used NH35s, these ETAs, they've used Myotas. I don't know what the wholesale price is on these movements.
Well,
do you guys care?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you care about smoothness of sweeping? Because I know a lot of people do, and that's another one that I don't really care about. Right. So a lot of times 6 ticks per second, we get longer power reserves, many times with lower beats, and maybe a shorter power reserve with a smoother sweep with the 8 ticks per second. And it doesn't matter to me in most cases. Do you guys care about that?
No, I know
that doesn't really matter to me.
Like, I know the one that the movement that I have experience with that has a lot slower sweep is the Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like that one practically ticks. You know, like,
yeah.
Which one is that?
An 8 hour.
Powermatic 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what
the
is
same
it like
beat rate.
the H what do they call it? Like the
H20,
H
H20, H30.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it has the same beat rate as a NH35 though. That's 3 hertz.
And it's got, I mean, I like the power reserve's like 80 hours, I think, 70 or 80 hours on it. And I mean, me personally, I don't mind the slower sweep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get I prefer the higher power reserves because, like, I mean, you can take that one off on a Friday, and when you put it, you put it back on a Sunday, it's still rolling. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's like I said, I like Clive had mentioned earlier, Myota is like Toyota, and I guess you could compare like the NH movement with like a Honda. They're both really reliable either way you go, and either one's probably not really, would you say, Amin, too much to service over the other if you'd had them serviced?
I have not had them serviced. I know that you can swap out an NH35 inexpensively. You can order them and just, without even servicing a watch, you can just replace the movement inexpensively.
Yeah, I might do that. Like the next time a watch that has a NH35 needs it, I might just swap out the movement.
For sure. Yeah, it's straightforward to do.
Yeah.
Zelos is really interesting in that they offer multiple exact same watches with the same with different movements, and so mostly ETA versus NH35. But it's always an interesting question. Do I want to spend more for an ETA if I'm getting the same case, same dial, same hands, same everything? I usually end up going for the NH35. Now, if they had a Myota option that was $50 more, then I'd have to probably do some more research. I'm not really sure.
That's true.
But $500 more for ETA, I'm not generally going to do that.
Definitely, yeah. When you're talking hundreds more, it's definitely not worth it over the other. Unless
the whole watch is elevated to a multi-$1,000 watch or something where every aspect of the watch is elevated, then maybe I want the more premium movement.
Yeah.
Definitely. And Nilo brings up a good point. He said it's less notable. I'm assuming he means the rotor line on the Myota. It's less noticeable in a heavier watch, which is true.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like probably if you have it like in a dive watch or something, like you probably wouldn't even feel it.
I had a Flieger, a Stero Flieger with a Myota, and I only noticed it when I tried to do it. If I whip it and hold it, it was like a fidget spinner, and I could feel it whirring away. But if I was just wearing it, I never noticed that. Yeah.
Nice. Clive was asking, which is easier to fix locally, Myota, Seiko, or ETA? I've never really had one service, so I honestly couldn't tell you. I would think maybe probably the Myota or the Seiko would probably be cheaper.
I'm lucky that I haven't. None of my watches have needed a service. Knock on wood, but like, I wouldn't even know around here. I've been trying to find good, like, local watchmaker in Chicago, and there's got to be a ton of them. I just haven't, required one.
And then
the service one.
Orange Hand brings up another good point too. He's saying disposable movements $30 to replace versus $250 for a service. So we could basically go on eBay, buy a whole new movement and do it ourselves. Really, just take apart the case because you can find the whole kit. On Amazon too, probably like the watch kit.
I've swapped out an NH35, and if you have any kind of watchmaker and you buy an NH35 and you ask them to just swap it for you, any of them could do it. So from that standpoint, service, dealing with a broken NH35 would be the easiest. But I think that watchmakers are used to repairing and servicing ETA movements, so without you providing anything. So
what's going on, Flip and Zippo? You just joining in? So let's see here. And then David Curtis is saying wrist keeps it moving. So, and we got Orange Hand saying Edo would be my bet. My watchmaker won't touch Seiko. Which I have an Orange Monster, as you guys know, and it's like one of the originals from like I've had maybe 8 to 10 years. It's still running strong, luckily, and it doesn't have the NH movement. I believe it has the 4R movement. But once it goes bad, I was told, like, just for sentimental reasons, I thought about getting it, serviced, and I was told this is somebody pretty reputable too. I won't mention any names, but he pretty much told me, he's like, we won't touch it. He's like, just go ahead and get an NH movement and drop it in there. Because something like, it's like, it was 180. Of course, it's worth more now, but it was like $108 at the time. So, which is what I may end up doing, is maybe just getting like an NH movement and throwing it in there when it, when it finally does die.
Yeah, I mean, you're not thinking of getting rid of it, right?
No. That's one that's definitely going to be a keeper. That's what I'm saying. When it is time to get new movement on there, that's what I was thinking about doing, because I was thinking about having it serviced just because sentimental reasons, But
yeah,
like I said, I just figured it might just be easier, like he said, just go ahead and movement or something like that in there over just getting it serviced.
I've heard of other watchmakers saying they won't touch Seikos too, but I figure with the internet, wouldn't be too hard to find somebody who would.
Yeah.
Get somebody that mods them or something like that. Maybe they probably do it. And then David Curtis said there's a watchmaker school there in Cincinnati. He thought about taking classes there. That'd be pretty cool to do.
I thought about that too. Just to, do stuff like that. Like to swap out movements or like hands or dials and stuff like that. I thought about taking classes like I'm too worried about just like trying it, like on any of my watches. So.
Yeah, that's like the Orange Monster. I thought about doing it myself, and now I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to mess it up.
Right.
And then Joe is saying the NH35 is equal to the 4R35.
So I would not
send
it to Spencer Klein, because he I think is known for doing great work, but his backlog is very long. So all last year he wasn't accepting jobs at all because he was just full, and he had watches around for many, 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 many months. And if he has started accepting jobs again, it's probably a huge backlog.
Probably
if
so.
If that's changed, then different story.
I think I watched one of his videos not too long ago.
Send it to Random Rob. Send it to Random Rob.
There you go. Rob might try and keep it. I know he likes his Orange Monsters.
Either that or he'll do it on camera.
Yeah. Let's see there. He's saying, Dave's saying, I'm sure that they have dummy watches we practice on. I'm sure. I went to when I had my Zenith, my El Primera, I went up to a Zenith event in Charlotte over there for Rosas when he was over at ECJ Lux. Got to take apart like a movement and put it back together for Zenith. It was pretty cool, like an old pocket watch movement. Pretty cool to do. I don't know if I want to do it for a living. You got to be really patient for that kind of stuff. But Peter's saying Vinny's Seiko 60s, 70s are difficult to get, and yes, he'd love to take a class. And I don't know if I mentioned, by the way, Bobby over at Bobby Lakes, he said he wasn't going to be able to make it tonight. He had others he had to do there. But yeah, guys, that was basically like I said. I mean, not really my argument, but my stance on NH movement versus Myota movement. And I never knew that. Like, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up before, man. That Myota movement's actually You said it was cheaper, right, than the NH movement?
More expensive. Yeah, I
Or
think a
more
lot of
expensive,
people.
yeah.
I think a lot of people think Myotas are less, are a cheaper option, but they're actually higher end. At least the 9015, the 8000 series is a different story, but the 9000 series Myotas compared to NH35, NH36, I think is a little bit higher end, but it wouldn't make a difference to me anyway. I think they're both solid. They're both dependable, reliable movements.
Oh yeah, definitely. That you think maybe that might be the reason why the micros, a lot of micro brands choose the Myota movement, or do you think they probably might just get better deals like in bulk, like when they buy a whole lot of movements at once, like when they release a watch, like say Zelos, they buy 2,000 movements or whatever, 3,000 movements, depending on how many watches they have. You think they're probably cut a little bit better deal?
They'd probably get a better deal on everything, but the Myota is definitely thinner. So if they want their watch to be thin, I could see that being one reason they would go the Myota.
Okay.
Or if they want that smoother sweep.
And Rob's saying there are about 6 service companies around Los Angeles that advertise they do Seikos. He's not sure of the details or how good. And that's one thing about here. I'm in Myrtle Beach, as you guys know. I have not found a watchmaker. I found, of course, a guy that will do straps and stuff like that, which, I usually do that myself. But as far as like an actual watchmaker, I haven't really found one here locally. And Clive is saying a local watchsmith near him will work on Seiko reasonably. Lots of others around here don't want to touch them.
If it's a cute gal in her 20s, that's reason enough to go. To go check.
The watch wagon. Peter said he loved a no name or two. But yeah, like I said, I've mainly kind of steered more towards the NH movement. What's your take, Random Rob? Random Rob just wondering what's going on, bud.
What's up? What's up, Rob? That's
He's saying
right.
go Cubs. Of course, I'm a Tribe fan myself. You know that. The Indians, the Pirates, and the NL.
Yeah, we got the Cubs got the best of your Tribe when it counted, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I think we're gonna have to change our name now too. Which
I think they're
sucks.
I think they're changing logos. Right?
Yeah.
They're just not. I think they're keeping the Indians name, I think, but not the logo.
Yeah, the Chief Wahoo, yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, the other Rob, is saying, I have one old guy in his town, a shop that would regulate and check my Seikos, but unfortunately he passed away. Yeah, like I said, that was basically what my argument towards steering more towards the NH movement, because I just feel like the rotor wine, and then like I said, depending on the company, the micro brand company that uses it, a lot of times they regulate it too, so it's not that bad. Like that new wrist I told you about, I had 2 days ago. I sent that out. That Rob let me in, and it was a pretty quiet moving watch for me movement. So I kind of feel like they're both reliable movements, but I wouldn't steer away from one or the other personally. Like if there was a choice, no, like Amin said, like if there was like ETA or NH, and you're talking like $200 or $300, of course, like you said, the difference, then yeah, I would probably pick the NH movement probably first. Collab. Man. But you guys got anything else you want to add? Amin or George?
How much? I guess when I think about this, are there watches where the movement just becomes I guess when I'm thinking about NH35s and Myotas, it's sort of, I'm not necessarily buying the watch for those movements. I'm buying the watch. It's usually a watch where I really like the rest of the watch, and then those are solid, right? Those are what it has. So I've just been thinking about that more lately because I got off on a track where I wanted my watches to have different movements than each other or interesting movements, and now I'm coming kind of full circle to the point where I don't mind as much if watches may have the same movements as other watches if there's other distinguishing characteristics with everything else about a watch. I think I was focusing too much on movement for a while.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to our, I don't know if you remember, George, me and Amin and Bobby Legs had talked about the Etta versus Salida. Like, I kind of wonder if, like, the group as a whole, like, the watch community, like, has a group mentality towards one or the other, if they favor one or the other. And
I think in that case,
you're thinking that way.
In that case, I think I would favor more an ETA than a Salida. I don't know, just because that's, you know, and I'm sure a Salida is just as easy to service as a ETA. But I don't know. To me, I've always favored more an ETA movement. I have a Christopher Ward that, you know, it's funny because Christopher Ward will, I don't know if they still do this, but when they used to advertise their watches, they used to say your watch will come with either an ETA or a Salida movement. So that being said, I don't know what movement is in my Christopher Ward, but I think between those two, I would favor more an ETA. Just because you know, among the watch community, we all know ETA and Salida, but I think more, just in general, I think more people are probably more familiar with ETA movements.
Yeah. Definitely. And Orange Hand's asking, has anyone had any experience with this? I've seen a couple watches with STP limits. I never really noticed a big problem with them. Have either you guys had any experience with the STP?
I don't have any.
I was just talking to a watchmaker or a watch company, a founder of a small indie today, who is basically making the point that he can get STPs much more readily than he can get ETAs and Salidas. So it sounds like, at least for micros, it could just be an access issue. Blue Shirt Buddha is saying that Carlos bought a Zodiac Super Seawolf with an STP that stopped working the first week he had it. And I think Joe mentioned that he's in the chat. I think he can comment, but he says he has them in his Zodiacs. Joe, you had an issue with one too, right? Let us know in the chat if that's true.
With the Zodiac, I think.
With the STP.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say, now that you mentioned it, I had a Zodiac a while back, and I believe it had the STP. Not my personal watch, but I borrowed it from a friend, from you, and it didn't have any issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's Fossil Group's ETA 2824 sort of equivalent with a swan neck regulator and a couple more hours of power reserve. Joe just commented that his STP3/30 required replacement too, but I think that plenty of people have had a good experience with them as well. Joe said talking to Fossil reps about servicing the movement was a nightmare. So
they must not have the greatest customer service then. We actually have a couple of Fossil stores, or we did, here at the beach. I don't know if they're still open or not. We had one at the Tanger outlets there.
So Rob was asking, what is Soprod? I think Soprod is a Swiss movement based on a Seiko design. I think it was based on a Seiko 4 series design, but then became a Swiss movement.
I've never heard of that movement. Let's see. Just saying, imagine talking to fossil reps about servicing an automatic movement. A lot of the fossil reps, they probably had no idea the Zodiac was even made by Fossil, probably. I mean, more than likely. That's like going into like a Rolex boutique and talking to them about, nerding out about the different movements or the different types. But yet, the sales rep looks at you like, what?
Yeah, I mean, you go into a fossil store, you talk about automatic movements and stuff. I mean, it's probably might even be some like college or high school kids and stuff like behind the counter.
Okay, Rob said that Myota was looking at using it. That's interesting because I know Myota had they've been using the Seiko for the last couple of years. That I believe. Let's see.
I feel like trying out one of those Montas. Everybody talks about how great those and they look cool. Those Myota watches.
That's one I actually regret selling. The GMT that I had. I do regret selling that one. That one was so comfortable.
They look cool.
And then Orange Hand saying the new Oris movement looks sick. 5 days power reserve. That is crazy that Oris is they're still able to remain independent and they're able to do all the stuff they've been doing like the last couple of years too. And
Oris is they introduced the movement, but they haven't introduced the watch that movement will be in yet. But it seems to be sort of their mid to upper level movement. So it'll be interesting what watch they announce in the next few weeks.
Yeah. All right. That's right. They are coming out with a new one. And then Rob's saying that they talking about might hope to use the SW300, but supplies. And then Rob's saying, George, you like the Myota for sure. The main issue would be the clasp. The smaller is a little bit longer for smaller wrist.
Yeah, that might. I might throw in a NATO. I have a 6 3/4 wrist. So, if anything, like if it was uncomfortable, maybe throw it on a leather strap or a NATO.
Mm-hmm. And then Mike's saying the new Myota Noble looks awesome. It does look awesome. And then Clive is asking, Oris, Myota, or Longines? I've never had experience with Longines, but if I had to pick between Oris and Myota, that would be kind of tough. I feel like comfort-wise, I feel like I would pick the Myota. Personally.
Really?
What about you guys? Yeah.
I'd probably go Oris.
I think I would go Longines.
We've got 3.
I'm kind of a sucker for the Heritage Longines series.
I've always wanted the Legend Iver looks killer.
I like a lot of their Heritage models.
I agree with you there. Like a lot of their Heritage ones I really, really do like too. But Oris has some really nice watches. I guess, I mean, either or. Have you guys seen the Oris with that Roberto Clemente?
Yeah,
that's one
special edition.
I would love to get a hold of one of those.
I love that watch. That's an awesome watch.
Yeah. I
like said Amin, and then you win.
Thanks, Clyde. Bruce, appreciate it. I think those are 3 strong companies in there. They all have good offerings.
definitely. That Roberto Clemente watch is on my, whether I'll get it or not, it's on my list at some point. I might, you know me, I might get it and have it like a month or two and then flip it. You know how I am. But being a baseball fan, that's definitely a must-have. Rob said he'd go out of those three for a tutor.
I'd like to see them on Noble in person. That fume dial on the blue one, I'd like to see how that looks on the wrist. Not easy to check out Montas in retail.
Yeah. I wonder if they will go retail eventually.
Joe.
Yeah, or it's good for the brain, Longines for the heart, Monta good for the wallet.
That's probably the best way to describe it.
I'm trying to get out of the flipping game, Rob. I'm trying to get out, but it's not easy.
The only two stayed so far, of course, are the Orange Monster and then the G-Shock, my all-metal square. I do have the DW 5600, but I mean, that one's always going to be easy to get.
No.
Nah, I don't think so.
I probably swear like them though.
Oh man.
I am in my basement, so that's another thing that we have in common.
Rob is saying, Fortune and Min, you get what keepers do you guys have?
I'm not a real flipper. You know what? In all honesty, I sold one watch, and it was to Rob. It was a Vostok Amphibia. I'm really, really selective when it comes to watches. It takes me a while to get them, too. That's the only watch that I've ever sold. Everything else, I mean, I keep. So another reason why I have to, like, not have to, but I want to keep my watches is a lot of them, they've been gifts from, like, either my wife, my mom. I inherited watches when my dad passed away, but
so they're ones that are hard to get rid of. You don't want to get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm a little bit reluctant to answer this question because every time I've made public announcements that a watch is a lifetime keeper, I've ended up flipping it, and then I look like a dickhead, basically. But I got a couple that were gifts that are definite keepers. I got a watch for my wife. I got a watch for my brother. Those are keepers. But as far as watches I bought myself, I think that my Moser is a keeper. I have a Breguet that I think is a keeper. Those are probably the two that I feel pretty sure about.
Mike's asking Rob how much you got for your Seiko.
Oh man.
That was the one, your 62 miles, right? The one that you said don't know. He sent him that note.
I made sure I didn't send him the original box and papers. I didn't want any confusion on that.
Good morning, there. And Rob's saying, welcome to the club. Yeah, I always said there was a whole bunch that I went and flipped. And I think Rob's kind of influenced me. Like I said, I flipped everyone except for the Orange Monster and the G-Shock.
Yeah, I said I would never flip.
I'm enjoying this one, but it's fair game at some point, I'm sure.
I said I would never flip the Sub. I said I'd never flip a Pepsi. Flipped. So I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut.
Plus, like a lot of the watches that I would consider getting rid of, there's no real value in them.
Yeah.
The ones that are more, the ones that are like either more expensive or the ones that have value, those are the ones that, like I said, I'm either sentimental towards or I don't want to get rid of them. So, I'd probably, like the watches that I would, sometimes I do like feel like I want to flip them like in bulk, like sell 5, 3, 5 watches, whatever. I've had watches that I didn't want anymore that I'll give to my nephews. They kind of like getting them. But I mean, yeah, I can't part with them. I'm so selective when I get them that I can't. I can't part with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I'm wondering if if I were to do it, get rid of some in bulk, that it would start something in me that I won't stop.
How many do you have? How many?
Actually, Chris and I were just talking about this before we went live. Was last I counted was I think 28. But there's like a solid 12 that I go through a good rotation. The other 2 are my dad's, and I keep those in a safe. And then the other 14, those I just those are kind of those are the ones that don't have a lot of value in them, but I'll go in them if I need a
all
beater
adds
and
up,
stuff.
believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you sell, if you sell 10, if you sell $10 watches, you get $100, right? So, I should probably look at it like that. So I know I got I have like a vintage. I think it's like a 60s, 70s, might be 60s Smiths. That one there might be something there. I don't know.
Tennessee Mike's saying start all over, sell them all. Rob's calling you a rookie.
Yeah, I am guilty as charged, that's for sure.
And then the other Rob's saying, "Oh, I feel better. He's only got 14." And Random Rob is saying you shouldn't know how many you have plus 10 you forgot about.
Yeah, no, he's right, because you know what? Those are the ones that I know where they're at. I'm sure there's others that are like in a drawer somewhere, that that I'm not accounting for. So there might be some there too.
Don't forget, G-Shocks don't count, really.
That's true. You know what?
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that, I am not doing G-Shocks, so there's that too.
And anything that's not in your main box doesn't count either. So
there you go.
If it makes you feel better, that's a rule.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we're heading up on close to 45, 50 minutes, guys. You guys about ready to call it a night?
I think, yeah.
You could turn in.
It was a good talk.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely have to come back on again, George.
Yeah,
and
for
guys,
sure.
If you haven't
Anytime.
already, I'm sure you guys have seen his channel, but go over and subscribe to Amin Reviews. He's got a great channel, guys. He knows his stuff.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
So,
thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, guys. And then everybody in the chat,
have a good night.
Thanks for joining in. I will catch you guys later.
All right, you guys take it easy. All right, good night.
Later.